Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today it's a fresh start to the week and a bit of a rocky start to the week, of course. But all that being said, we're going to go over today's price action, see what happened, what we can extract from it, if you will. And yeah, pretty much, the usual stuff, guys, the usual stuff that we like to do and we like to talk about. And, is it bad news? Is it over? Is this massive, 6% day? It's a pretty decent red day, of course, right? Is this over? Has it ruined the bull thesis or is it still intact? What's going on? Let's talk about it. I'll give you guys my thoughts as usual. If you enjoy, find this useful, informative, whatever, don't forget to hit that like button. And as usual, none of this is financial advice. Make your own decisions. Do your own research, ladies and gentlemen. But starting the day off, pretty much market closing in just over a minute. Tesla is going to be down about 6.5%, putting us just over $182, which of course is a pretty sizable drop, right? Compared to the market, Tesla definitely underperforming. There was, of course, rumors and I guess theories, if you will, that Giga Shanghai is limiting production or lowering production. People are thinking that's very bearish. It's been apparently said that it's false by Tesla or by someone in China, I believe, said that rumor is apparently false. But nonetheless, Tesla is still definitely underperforming the broader market by, not an absolutely completely outstanding margin, but definitely definitely an underperformance regardless. But anyway, let's just jump into it. So what does it mean, right? What does this all mean? So we did talk about last week, I think I said it either Thursday or Friday, how I personally expected actually early this week to be red. Right, I did expect it to be red, and that's exactly what we're getting. And I did talk about how I personally, the first level I was eyeballing was 186, but I did talk about how my overall level was around 182 to 178 ish, right, 179, something like that. I did talk about how that level was extremely important to me in the videos, and that's clearly what has happened so far. We dropped exactly to that level, and you can see some pretty nice buying pressure has started rolling in, especially end of day, pretty much right at this overall key level. Now, this doesn't mean that we cannot go lower. In fact, I actually wouldn't be surprised if we do go lower. And so pretty much what I wouldn't be surprised if we do something like this, where we come out down all the way here, we potentially rally up to maybe 185 to 187, something like that in this range, get rejected, and then go down one more lower. That to me would not surprise me whatsoever, right? That is just there is a probability of that happening. And the main reason that wouldn't surprise me, and the main reason I don't think that's all that bad personally either, is the fact that, well, I did talk about this also several times in a row, pretty much back when we were still trading, I think over here, way before we broke out and made this little rally. I did talk about how I personally wouldn't be surprised if, we end up overall forming this inverted head and shoulders, right? I've talked about this so many times already, but I'll talk about it one more time. This, of course, being overall this left shoulder, this, of course, being the head, and now we are essentially forming the right shoulder right here. Now, obviously, this could also mean that this can definitely come down to all the way to this level, which is around 176, 177, something like that ish, right? Which will pretty much match where the low of this left shoulder. But ideally, I don't want it to start entering the territory of the head. That to me is the most important part. As long as we don't enter the territory of the head, which the territory of the head at this point, where this resistance was up here, you can see was around that 176-ish level. So as long as we don't really start truly getting too deep into that territory, that to me is perfectly fine, which is why I also wouldn't be surprised if we potentially even come down to as low as about 177-ish, give or take a point or two, to truly form this right shoulder. We don't have to, but it wouldn't surprise me. But you can see overall the neckline is pretty much this exact level up here, right? This kind of 198 to 200 level, right? You can even argue that it's all the way down to like 196. Like between 196 to 200 is pretty much the neckline of this head and shoulders, right? That's the level that we want to break. And I did talk about back when we were here how I wouldn't be surprised if we come up all the way down up to like about 200-ish and then probably get rejected, run back down, and then most likely make the inverted head and shoulder pattern, which of course is a very bullish, very, standardized, I guess, pattern. It's a pattern that it's a very widely, I guess, accepted pattern. It's a very big, important pattern that usually, not always, but usually plays out, in the right way, right? Of course, you can also make the argument that we have that, giga head and shoulders, the bearish version, of course, on, the daily, the weekly, whatever. This, of course, being the left shoulder, the head, and this being the right shoulder, right? Which, you can definitely make the argument that, we are getting exceptionally close to playing out. However, we never really truly closed below it, so that's perfectly fine still. But that is definitely a concern. Now, it doesn't have to play out. This big one doesn't have to play out. Even this small one that we're talking about doesn't have to play out. But, there's a decent chance it will, right? In my opinion. It's just not 100%. In my opinion, it's like an 80% chance it'll probably play out. But again, nothing in the stock market is ever guaranteed. Nothing is handed to you. And you have to make sure you truly remember that and never forget that. Because if you ever think it is, well, that's how you're going to get absolutely smacked. So all that being said and done, I'm personally still feeling good, right? We are getting the retracement that I expected. You know, sometimes it just happens all in one go, right? So, you know, it is what it is, right? Pretty massive red day. But this is more or less what I expected to happen. Just I thought it'll happen over the course of maybe 2 days, like today and tomorrow, as opposed to all of it today or most of it today. But nonetheless, again, as long as we are not breaching pretty much around that 177, 176-ish range, I am feeling good, and I'm feeling overall still bullish and not worried whatsoever. However, if we do start breaching that level, if we do start breaching 176 and we start falling underneath this level, this line right here, this 177, let's just say, to make it simple, if we start breaching that and falling under without showing too much of a support or potential rebound happening, you know, very, very quick, like I want to see within like 15 minutes, I want to see if we breach below, I want to see it get, you know, recoup back up, right? If we don't see that, if we start seeing even more weakness and it's really starting to crash under this level of 177-ish, that's when I would start to get worried. I'm not still fully worried, but I would start to get worried. And the reason is because if we do crash, then, you know, that definitely means that we're probably going to, at the very least, gap fill, if not all the way come down to 167 again. And at that point, I'll be hoping for a double bottom. However, of course, if we ever start breaking this level down here, this low over here around 167, however, 165, 167, that range right there, well, then that's when all hell breaks loose and we probably come down to the 150s once and for all. So those are the levels to keep in mind. But however, for the bulls, again, you want to keep in mind that you want to pretty much have hold this 177 to pretty much roughly where we are right now, 182. This whole range right here is a very important range. There should be a lot of support in this area right here. And I really want this area to hold, ideally. That to me is ideal, right? And as long as this holds, the bulls essentially just want to see that hold, and they want to see a push up back up to around 196 to 200. And essentially you want to see that 196 to 200 and especially up to 204. This whole range right here, you want to see it break. But at the very least, you want to see 196 to 200 break, because that, if we start closing candles, especially dailies above that level, we'll start to kind of solidify that, yes, this head and shoulders pattern is about to play out. It's solidifying, it's looking realistic, and it's looking like it's about to actually, you know, kind of happen and, you know, go in full force, which is great for the bulls, not so great for the bears. But that's essentially what I am seeing at the very moment. Let's go to the daily one more time very, very quickly, and let's take a look at the overall indicators. So we are below the 21 EMA right now. We are, of course, pretty much dancing right around the white line. You can see it's starting to slowly get tight to this Bollinger Band, right? Kind of what we did over here. Kind of starting to slowly get to that same position that we were over here, you know, starting to get a little bit tight. So again, if this inverted head and shoulders plays out and this Bollinger gets tighter, and then we finally explode to one side, hopefully, of course, to the upside, which I still think it will be. I'm like 70% sure it'll be to the upside, 30% it'll be to the downside. However, you know, of course, if we continue consolidating, playing out this head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders, and this Bollinger Band kind of, you know, starts getting tighter and tighter and tighter, then it'll, of course, the longer it gets tighter, the longer it consolidates, the more explosive the move will be. And again, if it's to the upside, that will most likely also trigger the play out of this inverted head and shoulders all the way to the upside, which I personally still think will get us to around 220 to 230 more or less, right? That's kind of what I am personally still envisioning, right? You can see the 50 moving average is still kind of really just collapsing over to us, which of course will probably play as our first major resistance after we maybe play out this head and shoulders, right? That's definitely a possibility. And the 5 and the 10, we are kind of closing down below them as well. So a little bit of, you know, short-term bearish momentum here, but overall, on the overall kind of trend, I'm still not worried whatsoever. Not yet, at least, right? Of course, if something makes me worried, I'll let you guys know, but I gave you guys the overall kind of, you know, invalidation levels I am personally looking for regardless. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for personally. Now, taking a look at the daily one more time in the RSI, you can see we are still ultimately setting higher highs and higher lows, right? So overall, it's really not looking all that bad. I still think it's looking pretty damn good. Nothing to really, truly be concerned about. And yeah, I'm not worried, guys. I'm not worried just yet. I actually, in fact, sold some puts, which is a bullish position. I sold 2 puts. One where we were somewhere around up here, I sold, and then one pretty much when we were almost at the low of the day, just barely missed about like 0.5%. I sold a monthly. So I have one weekly put I sold for this week. And then I also sold one monthly put for near the end of December. But that's all the way like somewhere down here. I think I sold it. I closed the window. I think it was a 165 put I sold for like, I did this, I can't remember if I think it was the 23rd or the 30th of December. One of those two, I sold that. Just one for now. And if we keep falling, and if we overall come down to my overall level of 177, I'll probably sell one more, right? But that's kind of what I'm doing at the very moments, right? And yeah, that's essentially my current position. Other than that, I'm still holding all my shares. Not too worried whatsoever. Looking for some rallies to sell some weekly calls against eventually. And then, yeah, other than that, that's what I'm waiting for. That's my current thought process. That's what I'm doing. And that is what I am thinking. So let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you all so much for watching. And I'll see you for the next one. Peace.